life engineering, processes that combine science, wisdom, and spirituality to build a life of alignment. Joining Dr. Pat is your host, Gabriela Embon, bringing you bi-weekly wisdom nuggets, your step-by-step guidance to build a life of no regrets. Stay tuned as they uncover powerful processes for you to realize your true potential. Are you ready for some magic wisdom? Life engineering starts now.
Wow, everybody, welcome to a great show. I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this journey with the most amazing Gabriela. Today, here it is, mastering the key ingredients for a fulfilling life. You know, sometimes you may think, I just don't know where I am. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get from here to there. I don't know if I even understand if a fulfilling life is even in the cards for me. How many of you are saying, if I don't get to it this lifetime, I will do it next lifetime, right, Gabriela?
Absolutely. But you know what? As you were presenting, I was thinking to myself, yeah, but today we're not talking about the what. And you for sure, right, cannot fulfill yourself if you're not clear about what you want. That's probably one of the main reasons why most people lead a life that just, takes them wherever the wind goes. But I was thinking about that. You were talking and I was reflecting. I was thinking that this topic that we're going to talk about today even relates to that, because it is what we're going to talk about, that even when I am not sure where I'm going, allows me to at least try. Does it make sense? But let's reveal the topic, because it seems like we're talking
Let's do it,
in
because
quotes.
yeah, if we're not at that space you're talking about, we just forget about it. We don't even consider the options. We don't even think about possibilities, right?
Oh, yes. The power of yes, and we have so many possibilities in these days, right? We live in a world full of possibilities, probably more than ever, and yet that doesn't mean that we're necessarily embracing them. We're not necessarily jumping in, and the question is why? What's that gap between what I want and me actually doing it, right? Why don't I just jump and start? So we're going to be talking about the main reason for avoidance. There are different causes for avoidance, but the one we want to focus on today is loss of courage. And I use the word loss, right? That means that I imply we had it. You might say, why loss? Maybe we didn't have it at all. I was never courageous. And I want to challenge that. I was listening to a lecture from Dr. Annabelle Shaked, and she explains this really well. She says, we are born with courage. A baby is courageous. When it wants to start walking, it will try and fall and try again. It has an unshakable courage.
No question. No question.
So when do we lose it? It is around the age of 2 to 3 years old, right? When our parents start getting mad. That
or scared, mad or scared.
Mad or scared, that's very true. That we start creating that, we start losing our courage. And then we start creating a distorted relationship with the results. Because what happens is we start moving, accidents happens, we spill the juice, and then my mother says, I told you not to put the cup there. We run, we fall, and then say, I told you not to run, right? All these comments that come from frustration, wanting to protect us, right? They send a profound message to our soft brain. And that profound message says, oh, don't do just what you want to do, right? You're going to make people angry. And we start creating that neural connection that says, when I do what I want, or when I make a mistake, more so, people get angry. People get upset. I'm risking my belonging. I'm risking the peace. I'm risking my safety. And that's when we start creating a crack in that perfect courage that we come equipped with. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Because once you make that crack, what happens to the crack? You either get your super glue out and you seal it up, or it gets bigger. And then it's not a crack anymore. It's a crevasse. And then it's not a crevasse anymore. It's a canyon. And then, I mean, right? To the point where you can't even remember that you had that courage.
That's right. That's right. The moment that happened, it might seem like an insignificant moment, but for the brain of a toddler, it's not. And then we become more cautious, more careful. We start holding back. Think before you act. Everything is a big deal now, right? We start disconnecting. In fact, we start disconnecting from our inner guidance, from our beautiful desire to explore, regardless whether it will work or not, and from that courage, right, to go after what we want. Because what if I make a mistake?
Yeah. 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 I mean, there are things, can you remember courageous things? Do you remember those, that some of them? I mean, I think it's important. I looked at what we were going to talk about today, and you have a question in here. And I think you asked, what is the most courageous thing that you remember? Something like that, right?
Do you
And
remember?
yeah. And I remember it took me a while to be honest about it. Loving,
Oh my,
loving another person was the most courageous thing that I could remember ever doing at a very young age. And because I didn't grow up with that. I didn't, a lot of people grow up in loving families and everybody's happy, right? That's not my story. So loving another person, I, I don't mean just, I mean really loving another person. That's what I remembered. Most
wow,
courageous thing I've ever done.
that's so profound, because when you love someone, you open yourself completely, right? You're the most vulnerable, and you basically say, I trust you, but you are also most vulnerable to betrayal.
Yeah.
That's definitely an act of courage. It
Yeah.
does take courage to love another person. And of course, from what you're saying, is so important to be courageous. Because why is that important? I can have a great life without it. I don't know. I'll challenge that. You can
Yeah.
have a
I
life.
would too.
I
You
would
can't.
challenge that is a great life without it.
Yeah, no, I know I'm a living, proving example because I know what my life was before I actually truly loved. It was easier for me to jump out of an airplane and skydive. When I say that, people are like, no, I'll take love anytime. But that's not my journey. And so, what you're talking about today is each of us has to get in touch with that part of ourselves that perhaps maybe we cut off, right?
Absolutely. And it could be in certain areas. In some areas, we might be very courageous, let's say at work, or embracing opportunities from a professional perspective. But in the love area or personal relationships area, like you mentioned, we might be holding back. So it's not an all or nothing, of course. The idea is to question, in which area of my life do I feel that I'm holding back and not really living my full potential? And how do you know if you're living your full potential in that area? When you see yourself at the end of your life, do you feel, are there any regrets?
Mm,
It's that lovely sentence. Am I really, really leading my life in a way that I will minimize my regrets at the end of the day?
mhm. Yeah.
So
In
courage
the
also allow, yeah.
in the material world, I want to talk about this too. In the material world, we have to really remind ourselves of courage. So when I looked at this and then I looked at what you're about to talk about, I had another thing. And starting this network has to be in the top, up there. Um, I didn't see it as that originally because it felt so right.
Mm,
But getting ready for this show, I reflected upon it. Um, there's so many things. And I think what you're talking about is if we can identify that gap and close that gap, living a life fulfilled, it's not an illusion. It can become a reality for us, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I believe it's our duty because that's what we're here for. We're here to love, but we're also here to serve with our potential, with whatever tools, gifts we were equipped with to do what we're here to do. But somehow the design works in a way that first we need to uncover it and then we need to dare using it. And the dare part requires courage. The uncovering too. Some people will not uncover just because if I don't see it, then I don't have to use it. But for others, once I see it, how do I take the next step? Oh, it's too scary. I'd rather stay in my comfort zone. But we know that nothing happens within, right? It is in the discomfort zone that we grow. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
We're here to make the world a better place, a little bit, everyone. And that requires courage because our world is far from being perfect,
Yeah.
right?
And you know, some of the things too is I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people in my life, friends mostly, that thought I lost my mind.
Mm.
And it's hard because when you do something and you step out in courage, you're not just in the world by yourself. I mean, you know this. You have family, you have business. There are other people around us that may have something to say about it, right?
Definitely. This was actually the topic that we discussed in the last community call of the coaches. How to stop worrying what people think of you. And how to coach your clients, because we as coaches encounter many clients that what's holding them back from taking the next step is the fear of what people will say. So we were addressing that topic. And and the art of saying yes, right? Just say yes. You have an opportunity, just say yes. But what will people say? So this is really, really a very one of the main fears we have, because it challenges our belonging, as we were talking about. So we actually gave a few tips, but we can mention a few of them here. Yeah, I don't know if you remember last episode, we talked about the love balance.
Yeah.
So when we hold back because of the fear of what people will think of us, we're placing a lot of importance on ourselves. That self-awareness creates that self-importance that in fact leads to an imbalance between me and the rest. And in fact, people are busy with themselves. People don't walk every day thinking about us. But we are putting a lot of balance, a lot of importance, and then will come the love balance, obviously. And we'll try to balance it with the path of least resistance through a situation in which people are going to talk about us, just for us to realize it wasn't the end of the world. So kind of a exposure therapy, the love balance comes and does to you. The other thing is also to remember that not only you don't want to put so much self-importance, you're not here, you want to ask yourself, am I here to just exist and provide for my needs, or am I here to live? Because existence is within the comfort zone. Living is on the other side of the fence. And if I'm here just to exist, then I will, but that's not a fulfilling or life with no regrets. And I think that's a conscious decision we need to make, because we all have a choice, right? So important to reflect on that. If I'm here to exist and stay within my comfort zone, then that's fine. Then I won't expect anything. But is this truly what I want? Because we live in a life full of opportunities and in a world that is changing. But there's one thing that has not changed, and that is our soul. Everything around us is changing. Our soul does not change. And our soul craves fulfillment and service. And that's where we start living.
You know, I was talking to a monk several years ago when the Dalai Lama came. I had the opportunity to be in the presence of some of these incredible people. And I asked a question. And the question was, I said, look, back then the world was talking about don't expect anything. I don't know if you remember, but there was a trend that happened. Well, don't expect, don't expect. And I spoke to him and I said, I'm conflicted on this because I don't believe that's true. And he said to me very kindly and gently, what would my life be like if I didn't expect to be fed? What would my life be like if I didn't expect to go home from this tour? What would my life be like if I didn't expect that my spiritual prayers, my prayers would come true? And he went on like he had like 100 of these. And then he said, did I answer your question? And I said something like, you had me at the first expect. And what he was saying is what you're talking about. I don't know if people realize that we expect things every minute of every day. Sometimes we have to have a bit more courage to hold the conviction, but not the outcome.
Absolutely. We come back to the same principle that is at the basis of our existence. Our free will is at the level of choice. It's free choice, not free result, not what the result or the outcome will be. We have free choice. We are here to make the best choices that we can. Whatever the result of these choices are, it's not up to us. And if we understand that, we'll be more likely to dare, we'll have more courage, because all we need to do is choose, as we say, am I here to exist or to live? And just start and fall in love with the journey. Because movement and progress will always overpower fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Right.
And you did something very courageous in your life. When you shared this story, I don't know when you shared it, but maybe we should reflect on it. When you originally shared this story, I was like, whoa, that took a lot of courage. And I think it was relating to your wedding. And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a wow to me.
It's interesting because you said that when you started the network, you didn't see that as an act of courage. Me neither. Okay, not the network. When I canceled my wedding a month before, I didn't see that as an act of courage. In hindsight, I do understand it was, and people have commented on that. I did not think about what people will say. I just knew that at the end of the day, it's my life, and nobody will be there at night when I'm crying. And I need to make a choice for myself, and I just did it. It was beyond, it overpowered my thinking. Sorry, no, that's not what I wanted to say. It went beyond my thinking. So I don't recall thinking so much about that. But for the career change, that people also say, wow, that was courageous with 3 kids, doing a career change from engineering to coaching. That I remember very clearly, doing it while carrying the fear of what people might say, and thinking about, imagining people talking about me and saying, she went crazy. What is she doing? She's throwing her degree to the trash. That I remember. So I would say that choice took more courage for me, because I had to act despite the fear, which is one of the ways to look at courage, right? So the fear was very present for that one.
Yeah.
Fear of judgment, fear of being seen as I lost my mind. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about this because these things that are happening, you're up, I'm going to call this my language, up leveling my courage barometer. I always look at this on a day-to-day basis because I'm always hit with fear, smack in the face. There's something that'll show up. And it doesn't matter what it is. I'm a human being. So it could be simple things, right? But there's one thing that I would love for you to talk about, because I remember interviewing Gloria Steinem, and I remember asking her about courage. How did you have the courage to be the woman you were, especially at a time where you were fighting for women's rights and the organization that you were with did not want to include the LGBTQ community? And I asked her, out of your mouth came, we're all lesbians. That was her statement. It was a tipping point, a turning point. But she said to me this, and I would love for you to talk to it. She said, Pat, we all stand on the shoulders of all that have come before.
Wow.
So we're here now, and you're sharing the show and you're sharing this topic so you could be that beacon of light to encourage someone, people listening. So you're doing this from where I sit to encourage others to tap back into that courage, aren't you?
Absolutely. Um, it for me, this is what I believe in. You've heard me say that what I believe is that as adults, we have the responsibility to find the courage to live a fulfillment life in two main areas. These are the areas we don't want to compromise: career and primary relationship. But it does require courage, like anything and everything in life, because it's rare that we make it right from the beginning. Talking about the word mistakes. What is a mistake? Mistake. Take it again. Do it again. So I missed that take. I missed it. Kind of like playing bowling, you know? Do you imagine if you play bowling? Yeah, you were playing bowling. Would you stop after a bad strike? Of course not, right? You're playing. But that's what a mistake is, a bad strike. Then simply recalculate, like in Google Maps, course correct. So for me, I had to do that in both primary relationship and career. Because, like I said, it's rare we make it right from the beginning. It requires a lot of self-knowledge. And that's why it's so important to learn to develop the courage, which is like a muscle. And the word encourage, if you think about the word encourage, is to bring the courage back. Encourage. And I was sharing this beautiful exercise. Perhaps we can share that with the listeners. It's so simple, really, and so powerful. So every night, before you're about to go to sleep, when all your thoughts usually go into the things I didn't do, the list of what stay pending, what I didn't do right, what else needs to be done, right? Our brain tends to go there. Even if you do a gratitude list, you will still list what stay undone or pending from the day. So as you're about to go there, redirect your thoughts and list 10 things that you did today that you're proud of yourself, happy with yourself that you did that. And the key here is to list 10 things, even the smallest actions, the routine actions like flossing your teeth. So Dr. Shaket, she explains, because yeah, flossing your teeth, what? It's something I do every day, but you could also not do it. So you should be proud that you did, because you could have said, I'm too tired, not today. So the idea is to change that negative self-talk at night to what you've done well, what you're proud of yourself. And by listing small activities, you're kind of lowering the entry point. So for the brain, right, is the same, whether you did something extraordinary that you've been avoiding for a long time, definitely put it there, but also the things that you do almost every day. It sends encouragement to the person. It brings the courage back. It's a muscle. Many people say when they come to coaching, they say, I used to be so courageous. I used to be unstoppable. And then something happened. So this is a great exercise to train the brain back. You know, if you want to say, I was very patient with my children, despite being exhausted. That's something I'm very proud of myself. Or I felt like yelling at my colleague, but I didn't. I'm proud of myself. So these are the things we want to list until we get to 10. And to do that before you go to sleep. That's going to train your courage muscle. Your encouragement muscle. And you're learning to encourage yourself that way. But you know what? What's beautiful about this exercise? That because you train yourself to do it every night, eventually your brain expects that.
Yes.
So you start doing more things during the day just so you can list them at night.
Yes.
It primes you to work that way during the day.
I love that you mentioned that because we are retraining. You see, if I go back to what you started the show saying, that we are born courageously, we are. You know, a baby just starts screaming when it's hungry. It doesn't think, well, wait a minute, if I scream, I'm going to wake everybody up. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't do that. No, it just does this. But what I love about what you said is so important because we forget. You know, I prepare for every show that I do with you. And so I've had this in my consciousness. Today, something happened. And there was a person I was talking to saying, well, you know, we have to prove ourselves to them before we can get a booth at their event. I don't know what happened to me, but I was prepared. I said, no, I don't. We don't. We are a network that has been in business for 20 years. There's nothing quite like us. We don't have to prove ourselves to them. And it was a very interesting conversation because I don't know if I didn't prepare for the show, if I would have said that. And I said, no, I'm not going to prove myself. I said, look, it's a mutual opportunity and mutual respect. Neither one of us should have to prove ourselves for the other. See, that was an act of courage. Doesn't that seem like trivial? But it's not.
Totally. You actually said yes. It's the power of the yes. It's opportunities and are embraced when, as the default, if it feels aligned, we go after the yes. Actually, the power of yes is a topic I'll be talking about in September. There's a speaker slam competition, and that's the topic I'm going to be addressing, the power of yes. Of course, it will connect to courage.
Yes.
Because we can't say yes if we don't have courage. So good for you that you were able to answer from a place of wholeness. It takes courage to see that we're whole despite our faults. And yes, I love it.
Yeah, because then the feedback is, well, what if we miss out on the opportunity? What? My answer was, listen, if I have to do this, and we're not aligned. We're not aligned. Let's just accept it. And as Jim Fannin taught me, hit the next button. You see, that's what you said. You know, today you talked about a lot, but there's a closing message here, and I want you to go back to it about mistake.
Yes.
I play a sport where when I miss a ball, I have to evaluate within a second and a half. Was it my form? Did I not finish? I mean, I really do. And this thing you wrote here is so critical because we don't apply this in our lives.
Definitely. We were talking about mistakes like being a bad strike, but then you do it again. And like I said, we're born with that ability. For me, failure is avoidance. It's not a bad strike. That's not failure. Because you know what? If it didn't work, if the results were not what I was looking for, it wasn't up to me. I'm not responsible for the results. I'm responsible for the journey. And as long as I do my best in the journey and I course correct and I learn and I improve and I do it again, I already succeeded. Right? We don't want to reduce our potential. That's what we don't want to do. That for me is failure, reducing our potential of what Abraham Maslow said, what a man can be, he must be.
What a powerful conversation. Thank you so much, Gabriela. Again, please let folks know how they can find out more about you.
We are at coachingacademy.net and gabrielaembon.com.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
Thank you for the invitation to remember that we are built in courageous. Thank you so much for that. Wow. Please follow what Gabriela said today. You can do this. At the end of your day, you can do this. But remember that you are really, really enough and more than enough. And as Matt James would say to me on a regular basis, Pat, whatever you think you are, you're more than that. And Gabriela just shared why that's true. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Life Engineering, processes that combine science, wisdom, and spirituality to create a life of alignment on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Join host Gabriela Embon and Dr. Pat every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific for bi-weekly wisdom nuggets on how to create your perfect synergy between your mind, body, and spirit in order to realize your true potential. For more information, visit Gabriela at coachingacademy.net.